One second. Here we are. Hello, everyone. Here is Simone Vincenzi, co-founder of GTeX, Growing Together Exponentially. And you are here live on the Explode Your Coaching Business show, the place where we help you live your purpose, grow your business, and make an impact in the world. We interview incredible coaches and speakers all over the world. Like here tonight, we have Haroon Rabbani. Give us a wave, Haroon.
Hey, that's me.
Hey, and we interview great people like Haroon to share with you what are the secret, the tips on that will help you growing an incredible coaching, speaking, or training business. All the cutting edge techniques, technologies, and things that really work incredibly well. So you can have the business that you really love. Right, I'm really excited tonight because I have the one and the only Haroon Rabbani, and it's like when I asked him, "Can you please send me your bio so I can introduce you?" I was very shocked because you know that you started getting involved in entrepreneurship when you were 12 years old.
Not on purpose, trust me. It wasn't because I wanted to, because I had a father who was entrepreneurial, and his English wasn't so good, and my English was, since I was raised in this country. I wasn't even born in this country, in England, that is. And my job was to serve customers. Didn't want to do it, but I had to do it. So it was out of necessity to help the family survive, actually.
Wow, that's already very inspiring. So I'm really looking forward to hear more about you and more about your journey, more about your story, because I know that you're now working all over the world, helping speakers, other entrepreneurs, really living a life of purpose, living a life in alignment with who they really are, and that's why we connected very well immediately.
Yep. Yes.
So before we start and getting into how can our listeners of the podcast and those people that are here live today. And guys, if you have any questions, please make sure you ask them, because we would love to hear from you and answer your question. But before we get into the really juicy part, what I would love to hear from you is what got you into starting this journey?
Right. I mean, it's some people choose a career because it's something that they've been taught. They do their O-levels, GCSEs, degree, etc. And so they end up becoming a doctor. And like any good Asian family, my parents wanted me to be a doctor, lawyer, and accountant. They said, you become a doctor. But what I found was, and it's quite interesting that right now, whilst we're recording, there's a lot of doctors going on strike in the United Kingdom. They're not happy with the way they're being treated. Back in the 1980s, that was a major problem. Doctors were working 120 hours a week, no rest. Wow. And I heard they got paid well and everything. And in my head, I was thinking, well, why the heck are you going to spend all that time making all that money and not have any time to spend it? It's very simple. Why are you working so hard? Of course, the work is needed. And so even though my teachers and everybody else wanted me to be a doctor, I lost my interest. I just didn't feel it. Funny enough, I ended up doing a degree in economics. And after my degree, I was looking for a job. Now, I thought I want to go into sales just to prove to myself I can do it. No reason, just an egotistic thing. I wanted to prove to myself I could do it. And I searched and I ended up, guess what? Working in hospitals anyway. But instead of being a doctor, I was selling surgical equipment to doctors instead.
Right.
So that was part of my career path. But in terms of why did I get into the whole coaching field, transformation field? Very simple. I grew up in an area called Sunderland, which is in the northeast of England. And this is where our family business was. And there was a lot of poverty there, a lot of hostility, aggression, a lot of racism at the time. And I just didn't like the fact that people were being denied opportunities. I didn't like the fact that people couldn't see the best in them. And I've got this crazy thing, which is I can't do things small. If I do something, it's got to be properly, it's got to be big. So when I started martial arts, even though I was the skinniest student there, I was very, very skinny, smallest person there, I wanted to be British kickboxing champion. And I used to have the, excuse my language, crap beaten out of me for 2 years solid. I used to get the life beaten out of me. I'd go battered and bruised home. But something inside of me says, one day I'm going to beat you guys. And funny enough, it was after about 18 months of getting the life beaten out of me, something flipped. A switch flicked on, and I was able to defend myself. And then I was able to counterattack. And then I started winning competitions, and I started beating the very guys who had beaten me in the past. So what was interesting was, though, my Kung Fu teacher knew how hard I worked. I used to train Monday through to Friday, 3 to 4 hours every night. This is after school from the age of 14. Saturday, Sunday, 6, 7, 8 hours. So I was training a lot of hours. And he said to me, Haroon, I want you to train the kids. The classes are too big. I want you to train the kids. And I said, I don't want to train the kids. You know what I found? The more I started training the kids, the better I became. And isn't that interesting? Because there's a saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. I've got another saying which I picked up from my friend Richard Wilkins, who says, when the student is really ready, they become the teacher. So what was happening?
I love Richard Wilkins, but he's a great guy.
Well, he's doing amazing stuff. And, he has something called broadband consciousness, which he started as a result of working with me and another guy by the name of John Boyce. So this is way back. So I was on the very first broadband content, and it's when it skyrocketed. So, what I found was, so just fast forwarding a few years, I was at university, still doing my martial arts, teaching. And there was a 10-year-old kid. Now, I'd won many championships. Wasn't British champion yet. I did become British champion later. I had this 10-year-old kid who came up to me, and now our training club, our gym, our Kung Fu school was in a very rough area, rough neighborhood, where a lot of the kids got into violent crime, burglaries, drugs or drug dealing. So this kid comes up to me and he said to me, Haroon, he didn't say anything. First of all, he hugged me. Now, back then, I was a proper alpha male. I was like, I don't do hugs, I hugged him anyway. And he said, Haroon, thank you so much. I said, what for? What have I done? He said, every time you're at my side, basically I was coaching him. Every time you're at my side at any competition, I always win. And as a result, his life went into a brilliant direction where his peers, his friends ended up in crime. He ended up going to the university and, nice career afterwards. And it made me think, I didn't realize I was coaching, but I was coaching. I didn't realize
something that you were doing naturally.
It was coming naturally.
Even you knowing you were doing it.
Exactly. It's like when somebody feels the pain and frustration. So remember, 2 years of pain and agony in the Kung Fu gym, and I was paying for it. I was.
Why am I paying for these bruises?
Yeah, exactly. And I swear to you, I was so bruised up. But it was as a result of me going through that I cannot to this day help myself but to help people. And it's not me trying to be all cheesy or whatever. I just can't, because I know the possibilities. I know in martial arts you can train and train and train for so hard, and then you hit a plateau. But all it takes is that one tipping point. And many people, what they used to do was get to that plateau and then quit. And I've seen it happen so many times. It nearly happened to me. But you just got to keep on going. And it's not about motivation. It's not about motivation. It's really a calling. It's something that comes from within. So that's how my coaching started, but I never knew I was a coach. I was doing visualization exercises, and I didn't know about visualization exercises. In 1986, I saw a guy who's the world kickboxing champion. I saw him compete, and I thought, wow, this is amazing. Now, he's a heavyweight champion. I thought, I want to fight him one day. Never got to fight him. So what I used to do is visualize in my mind. I'm using these terms. I didn't know I was doing that. I used to watch his techniques in my mind, and then I used to put myself into his body and practice the techniques. And then I would get rid of him, and it was just me. My mum, I was 16 at the time, she used to get a bit freaked out because in the middle of the night, I'm hitting the wall, practicing the same punch again and again and again. So as a result, I achieved mastery in certain aspects. I'm not a complete master in martial arts, but in certain techniques, I was a master. And I guess what was interesting was, again, fast forwarding a few more years, what I found was that a lot of people are naturally amazing. And if you can coaching isn't about, for me anyway, coaching isn't about, come on, you can do it. That's, maybe in, if you watch Rocky movies and stuff like that, I get that. That's needed there, that you really have to push it. Coaching is my Kung Fu teacher, Vince, nicknamed the Black Dragon, and he absolutely amazing guy. He was at my side once when I was fighting at Crystal Palace, when Crystal Palace was a proper athletic stadium. Thousands of people around us, and I'd beaten everybody in competition. Nobody knew who the hell I was. They were like, who's this guy? He's beating everybody. But the last fight, I had to fight 2 rounds, and I'd injured my big toe because I hit this guy so hard between his ribs that my toe bent backwards, nearly broke, basically.
Wow.
I injured my...
It feels like
damaged
hearing a story of the movie Karate Kid.
Yeah.
you got Master Miyagi.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting, it could be that, because that was my generation. And the thing was, this guy who I was fighting, I didn't know this at the time. This is interesting. This is very interesting, this bit. I did not know he was world champion. I was fighting the British. I didn't know who they are. I don't care. I'm fighting. You're in my way. I'm going to practice my techniques on you. That's it. I wasn't trying to beat him. I was just practicing my techniques. And I was beating him so badly, but he did this absolutely amazing technique, which is called a jump, spinning, side kick. And so I hit him so hard, I knocked him completely off the arena. But you imagine, right, 2, like a trucks colliding, we collided, and I had a hairline fracture as a result. And so you imagine, right, 10 seconds left in the competition. And my Kung Fu teacher, the only voice I can hear is his voice. It says, Haroon, come on, just guard, protect yourself. I can hear that. And 10 seconds left, referee whistles to fight. And in that 10 seconds, I do a strike to the side of his head. He does a kick to the side of my head. We both land, but there's 3 referees, 2 on his side of the ring, 1 on mine. The 2 saw his, and the 1 saw mine. Because they saw his first, because it was on his side, he blindsided them. They scored him, and literally I'd lost a major competition on that 1 point. But what was interesting was that was the best fight and the most memorable fight I ever had. Now, how does this relate to coaching? Everything about coaching. You know, when you're coaching your clients, it might be the most important thing of their life. It doesn't matter if they've just started off in business. It doesn't matter if they're trying to create a multinational company. It's all the same. To them,
is everything.
The job of a coach
is everything.
It's everything. And your job is to be that inner voice, that guide in that moment. But you've got to have such rapport and such trust. And that comes with time. It comes with practice. And it comes with this. It comes with the attitude that you're working towards one cause, not a goal. A goal is saying, hey, I want to achieve X amount of sales. A cause is different matter altogether. If you look at, say, for example,
more about that, because here you're talking about goal different than cause, and it seems that a cause is something which is much deeper. Is something that goes beyond a simple. Oh, here is the amount of sales I want to have. Oh, here is the house I want to get. Or here's the clients I want to coach. Or here's the business. All that. What's the difference for you?
The difference is this. So I've been very sporty most of my life, and maybe not so in the last few years, but I've been very sporty. And I remember the very first time I used to hate running. Mm-hmm. At one point, my attitude towards running was, you only go running if you're being chased by a dog or a police. But that's the only reason you have for running. So in my mind, I didn't want to run. But because I was fighting these competitions, I had to go running. So I remember once I was practicing running on the treadmill in Leeds, actually. I was there 5 minutes. You imagine running for 5 minutes on a treadmill, which isn't much. But I'm counting down the seconds after I'm running a minute. I'm thinking, I am so bored running. So, but as I started practicing, I started running on the road running, so running for longer, joined a running club. And I did my first half marathon in, I think it was 97 or 98. I ran in Nottingham, the Nottingham Robin Hood run. And what was funny was this. This is all related, by the way, and I know I talk a lot, but I think this is important. So if you go to half marathon, you have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people. This is on a Sunday, I think it was, I was running, and there was 20,000 people or so. And I thought, I don't want to be right at the back with all the people in the Zimmer frames, but I can't be right at the front with the elite runners. So I went right next to the super fit runners, the really, really fast guys, but they're club runners. And I thought, knowing NLP and stuff like that, I thought, what I'm going to do is I'm going to build rapport with them in terms of how they breathe, how they stride. So there's me 10 minutes into the run, and I'm thinking, oh my God, my legs are just carrying me forward. This is absolutely amazing. 10 minutes into the run, and all of a sudden, click, my knee went. And the rest of and 10 minutes into the run would have been just over a mile at the time, maybe a mile and a half. The rest of the race, I limped. Thankfully, I had my brother there. I'd nearly broken, I didn't break it, but I damaged my knee really, really badly. Following week, I did a run, Great North Run. And I was in so much pain that I thought, how the heck am I going to do this? This is long before I learned healing and stuff. And you know, the thing, this is what the difference between a goal and a cause was. My goal was to run the Great North Run, which is a 13.2 miles or something like that. I had a cause. I was raising for money for the NSPCC, and I'd raised quite a few £100 for them. In my mind, I was thinking of the children. And so that's the cause. Cause is saying, this is way beyond my desires. It's way beyond me as an individual. It could be, a cause could be, if you look at, there's a guy who came here 2,000 years ago. He followed his cause, or he led his cause, and they even crucified him for it. And look how big, his religion is, right?
Yeah, it made a bit of an impact. Like, I heard of him a couple of times. Yeah. So, exactly. And I think that this is a really important, because now we are in the context of inspiring other coaches, speakers, or trainers growing their businesses. And I hear a lot of people actually having a goal. Oh, I want to have a 6-figure. Just generally, a lot of people come to me and say, help me having a 6-figure business. I say, okay, I'll do that. But is that it? Right? And here you're talking about having something deeper, having something that actually goes beyond the amount of money you want to make, or the act himself, but it's the cause that drives all your decision, all your actions. So I guess that from what you're saying, just something to put to the audience, to everyone who's listening, is what is your reason why? Why do you want to be a coach? Why do you want even to do that?
Well, coaching is, for me, an aspect of what I do. It doesn't define who I am. It is an aspect. And some people are very career and title minded. I don't care, as far as I'm concerned. I have a reason for existing. My reason for existing, living, everything that I do. So, I have a my own blog, my podcast, my radio station. We're doing TV work, and we're building up to that. My reason is very simple. I'm here to do my part in the healing of humanity, the healing of the planet. Now, the biggest trouble people have, and I see a question here, which is a great question, which we can come to later. The biggest problem with the old way of doing business is this. People were one-dimensional in their business. The one dimension was that they wanted just to make profits. That was it. And fair enough, they do good, people can still be philanthropical. But today's biggest change makers are the people who intend to make a difference to the people, the planet, and their profits. There's other elements. So it's a multi-dimensional business. Whether you're a coach or you're an entrepreneur or a speaker, if you are driven by the money motive, then you are limiting yourself. It's a bit like me trying to become a half marathon or full marathon runner. I can't do full marathons. I don't have the patience to run for 4 hours or 3 hours. If 1 hour, not a problem. 2 hours, not a problem. But so if you want to run even a half marathon and you are focused just running on the treadmill for 5-10 minutes, it ain't gonna happen. And Dr. John D. Martini, who I'm sure you know very well, I got to interview this time last year, actually, and we may be doing some stuff in the future together. Now, he puts it beautifully. He says this is in relation to cause and in terms of any kind of coaching business. If you want to make a difference to the people, if you want to make a difference to yourself, you have to have a vision as big as your family. If you want to make a difference to your family, you have to have a vision as big as your community. If you want to make a difference to your community, you have to have a citywide, townwide vision. If you want to make a townwide difference, you have to have a national vision. If you want to make a difference to your country, you have to have a global vision. But get this is the most beautiful one. If you want to make a difference to the world, you have to have a vision that transcends space, transcends time. Those are the ones. Think about it. Martin Luther King. How big was his vision? Even though it was about equality in one country, actually it transcended space and time. It didn't happen for much later. And obviously we have Barack Obama as the first Black American president. How about someone like Mahatma Gandhi, who's a hero for me, a pacifist, a peace, activist, and his vision was to have an independent India. But as a result of his work, the whole British Empire and every other empires collapsed. So going back to the running, when I started aiming towards running 13 miles, which is about, for me, it was about 1 hour 45, 1 hour 40 minutes. When my vision was that big, then when it came to the actual run, the day of the race, 10 minutes I was running into it, I wasn't even breaking sweat. I hadn't even warmed up properly within the first 10 minutes. So it's the same in business. If you're thinking in terms of purely monetary figures, do not get me wrong. I am not saying money is not important. Far from it. If you do not have money, and if you can't put food in your belly, have a roof over your table, top over your head, if you can't have clothes on your back, then you're in survival mode. If you're in survival mode, then you'll only just survive. And people in survival mode, their creativity of their brain shuts down.
Yeah.
So when that shuts down, then you miss opportunities. It's like this. People are saying, hey, opportunity. But you're saying you're like one of those horses with the
food. That's how can I pay my bills? Bills. It's all that. So something that I'm hearing you saying is that, first of all, in order to transform your business, guys, start thinking about how big is your vision. And if your vision is not big enough, then spend a bit more time right now to think about, okay, what can I do for the world? What can I create? What changes can I make? Because that will drive also, that will put everything into perspective. What right now seems something big that you're doing compared to your big vision, that's actually just a small part. And the effort that it feels while you're putting in that work feels much less, because you say, yeah, I'm actually getting warmed up right now. Even if I maybe coach 50 people, or even if I had 20 sales calls, I'm just getting warmed up. I'm just getting started. I wrote 30 blog posts. That's 30 blog posts. I give this. It's just the beginning. Put everything in perspective, and I think this is a great point. And I don't know if that happened the same to you, but when I started my coaching business, I was 22 when I started my first one. And my goal was I want to have a couple of people to coach. That's it. I want to coach people. But then the more I was getting into knowing better myself, and the more I was evolving. So when I had a couple of people to coach, then my vision expanded a bit. And I say, okay, now I want to coach 100 people. And I say, I want to coach 1,000 people. And then it got to the point where we say, I actually want every single person on this planet living their true purpose in life and living their true passions. That's what I want. Every single person on this planet aligned with their purpose. Will I see this happen? I don't know. Can I start this? And can I start the system and the organization to put in place for this to happen? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So
absolutely,
that was something that really touched me, what you said right now.
I think the other thing to keep in mind, though, because someone like you is very creative, I can tell that someone, you're a very people person. And there's also a danger that the vision is so big. Now, first of all, by the way, let's just clear one thing.
Go for it.
If your vision doesn't scare the life out of you, if it doesn't put I won't say it, but anyway, if the vision doesn't scare you enough, that means it's not big enough. So that's how, that way you can tell.
Okay, I have a question.
Imagine
I have a question for you right now. What if someone, and this is something because I'm interested in this, because I've heard this, if your vision doesn't scare you, it's not big enough. What if there are people that are not scared of anything? What would you say to that? That's a question I was never able to answer. So maybe you are.
Okay, well, I'm one of those people who doesn't get scared of anything. Okay, but you're scared because sometimes, like say for example, so I love speaking on stage. When I'm on stage, I'm like in heaven as far as I'm concerned. But I tell you what, leading up to the stage, I don't care if it's 3 people there or 30,000 people there. I've not spoken to an audience of 30,000, I have to say. I'm obviously planting that seed right now. So I'm expecting you to set that up. Okay. All right.
I'll take a note. One second.
Yeah, make a note, please. So it doesn't matter how big the audience or how small the audience. Doesn't matter even if it's a 1-to-1. In my mind, in that moment, I'm nervous, and it goes back to the martial arts. I fought hundreds of competitions. I won about 35, 40 of those competitions. Most people will forget the ones that I lost. They'll remember the ones that I won, because these were tournaments, so we fought many people. Here's what I discovered. Every single time I had no nerves before a fight, I lost that fight. Every single time I had some level of nerves, I won that fight. I don't believe in being driven by fear, but having some amount of fear is important, because it gets you to kick your own butt. Having too much fear, that doesn't work, because I've been there as well, where I'm so nervous that I'm frozen. Yeah, exactly. So, exactly. So the vision has to be big, but here's the thing. It's also got to be balanced. Your vision might be massive. It might be global. It might transcend time. But I have this attitude that if you can't chunk it all the way down to at least 90 days and then chunk it down further, because, 10, 20 years ago, you could do a 1-year vision and you can slowly realize it. Well, now I believe the expansion of human consciousness is such, our collective consciousness, that even 5 years ago, what took you 12 months to achieve, you can do it in 3 months. 100% believe it, because I've done it. I've had clients do it. So what you've got to do is take your big vision, bring it down, and the question you got to ask yourself is, can I break it down to 365 days or 300 days, and can I do at least one thing towards my vision today, first thing in the morning, or tomorrow? And if you do one little thing every single day, and you improve by 1% a day, only 1%, not much, right? 1% a day after 100 days, how much have you improved? 100%, correct? After 200 days, how much have you improved?
You're in.
After 300 days, how much have you improved?
Guess what? 300%.
No. This is what everyone thinks. Right. No, it's no.
Okay, go for it.
No.
Surprise me.
No. After 100% of 100% is 100%. So you got 200% after 200 days. But now you've improved 1% a day. So it's 100% of 200%, which is 200 and 200? 400.
Oh, wow.
In 300 days, if you improved or you worked towards a goal or a vision or your cause, just 1%. It's not much. It's not much to ask.
Yeah,
that's all it takes.
The compound effect.
It's the compound effect. Absolutely. And if you're a coach who, for example, a lot of people hate selling, totally understand that. So how do you deal with that? With selling, you practice one thing at a time. The biggest problem with coaches and speakers is they try to be everything in one go. Doesn't work like that. In martial arts, I knew how many techniques? I had 20, 30, 40 techniques, but I was only good at 2 of them, actually. One of them I was a master. It was almost like you stand in front of me, I have eyes in my hand, and I will hit you, guaranteed. It was a master. But it also applies in selling. So when I was selling medical equipment for a couple of big blue chip companies, my first company, we had 800 products, and I knew about 12 of them really well. And I was top guy, sometimes number 1. In my second medical company, 3,000 products. I only knew 3, 4, 5 products, of which I was world number 1 in 2. That also put me, everyone else in the team was trying to become second. They left number 1 alone. I was there. I was 20, 30% always ahead of everybody else, simply because I learned from my martial arts that if you practice one technique or one process or one thing again and again and again, you become the definitive expert. I don't like the word guru. You become the definitive expert. So go ahead.
No, I just want to really to agree with you on this, because in particular where coaches, speakers are starting a business. I remember when I started, I didn't know anything. And then you read a blog or you watch a video and you know that you need to learn how to blog. You need to learn how to speak from stage. You need to learn how to sell from stage. You need to learn how to sell one-to-one. You need to learn how to sell marketing. And it's like, oh my God, now I just want to put a gun over my head and press the trigger.
Yeah.
What now? as you're saying, it really goes on. And I like the flow that we are talking about on these 3 steps that we've covered so far, which is every incredibly huge vision that can scare the life out of you, then break it down and work every day to improve one thing, and then choose one thing. Just one thing.
No, I promise you, not even 2 things. I promise you. I've seen this happen again and again. And this is great having this conversation, because it reminds me I've got to focus on the one thing. Because this is, especially creative people. Yeah, exactly. A lot of us creative people, big shiny object, we jump for. I'm creative. I've got so many ideas. So this is why I've recruited people. Yesterday, I have a new team member who's just going to look after all my PA administration work. Her job is to just look after appointments, nothing else, not cold calling, just looking after something like follow-up. Did you know, right? For example, I've got a friend, his name is David. I won't mention his full name in case he doesn't want me to mention it. His name is David anyway. He's a motivational speaker, very successful, who's making over £100,000. I don't know if that's 6 or 7 figures, but 6 figures, I think it is. £100,000 a year. In a year. And I told him one thing, and this is useful for everybody listening in right now. I said to him, David, you make an appointment with whoever your client, what you do is follow up with an email. Everyone knows, of course you're going to follow up, confirm. Follow up 1 week before with an email, before your actual delivery of your appointment, which is speaking basically. And then the night before, give them a call. After you visited them, the day after, give them a call. So he did this. That's just follow up. One exercise. Pick up the telephone, speak to them. That's the big thing. More than the email, pick up the telephone. He applied that about 6 weeks, 7 weeks. The following, so this was in about October, November, I taught him this. Or he probably knew it, but I just reminded him. By February, he'd lined up exactly the same amount of business he did in the previous year for the first 6 months. In other words, within 6 months of putting this into practice, he had more business than he had in the entire year, simply because of one thing. And he mastered it. Only one thing at a time. So don't try to do everything. You cannot be everyone to every if you're in, it depends on which part of the world you are, but there's 7.3 billion people on the planet. There's no way you're going to say there's 7.3 billion people on the planet. Myself, for example, I mentor people, but I don't take too many people on. I mentor only 4 clients at a time. But I work very hard. I work 1 day a week on those clients while I develop my other businesses for the rest of the 4 days. 4 clients, 1 day at a time, and I give them everything.
Yeah.
When I say everything, I don't tell them everything. I give them my heart and my soul. I'm there.
You're there for
I am their servant. Exactly. My job is to transform their life.
And I really love that. In particular, when you're talking about saying one thing, and for everyone who's listening, follow up. I got most of my clients, they came on board joining our courses probably sometimes after 2 months, sometimes after 3 months, sometimes after 6 months, but why? I'm always there with them. I'm always there. Hey, how are things going? How are you? How's life? Hey, do you want to talk?
Yeah.
And I know and I have reminders for a different system that actually you can put in place. Like if your business is turning over already good amount of money, you can get something like Infusionsoft, which is highly recommended. Or if you're starting out, use Insightly. Insightly costs, before was free, now is $9 a month. And for $9, you can set up reminders for associate different tasks to the people. You have a proper CRM system where you have all the story of your clients. You can put the tags that you want with your clients. You can have automated reminders to remind you, hey, you got to call this person because last time you talked about that. And that's so important. So thank you very much for reminding me.
Hey, you just said something which is really interesting, which is I got to meet Dean Jackson earlier in the summer, and Dean Jackson is a marketing total and utter genius. Seriously, this guy, you stand next to him, you get clever. So he was saying on one of his podcasts, this is great because he looked at this study. What they've shown is, right, when people create an online product, so you might have it could be a coaching product, an online product. What they found was when they deliver the product about 15% of the people take up the offer there and then.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's a build up to it. But what they found was they stay in touch with them over a period of time. And it's only after 18 months that 85% of them, of the potential sales that were going to come in, actually come in. In other words, if you, let's just say we did a podcast or we did a video launch of a product right now, our first 15% of the sales we're going to make is now. But the rest of it, which is the majority, 85% of it, is going to come because of follow-up and looking after them and nurturing them for another 18 months. Nuts, right? So basically people are throwing away money. They're bleeding it away by ignoring the opportunities, ignoring, not looking after and nurturing their potential customers. It's totally and utterly amazing, which, I mean, I didn't know that. This is something I learned new. So I knew follow was important. For 18 months is a long time to deal with someone who's not paying you a penny. So it's something to consider. Now, there's a question. I don't know how long the call is, but there's
1
a
hour.
question.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to go to the question of level up your game that asked at what point do you decide to increase your prices and how do you determine that? And I think I would love to hear your thoughts, because this is something that definitely a lot of clients ask me, and I have my set of answers, but I would love to hear a fresh perspective on that, Harun.
Okay, so first of all, let's just get our head around the whole money thing. Okay, a lot of oh my God, amount of coaches and healers who've got money issues. I got to share this little story. I was teaching something called the Law of Intention workshop, which is all to do the Law of Intention experience, and it was on weekend workshops, and we did preview seminars leading up to this. So this is in 2006, 2007, and we did it for a number of years. And so the Law of Intention says your intention actually has a magnificent effect on how much you attract. It's not law of attraction, something more powerful. So in one of our seminars, I had this woman come up to me and said, "Oh, Rena, I love this presentation. I want to help you with you guys and join your team." And I said, "So what do you do?" "I'm a wealth coach." I said, "Great. So what, what's your challenge?" She goes, I don't get enough clients. I'm not making enough money. I'm a wealth coach. I'm not making enough money. All right. I said, "How much do you charge?" £25 an hour. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You're a wealth coach and you're charging £25 an hour. So first of all, very important is this: get integral, get authentic, speak your truth, live your truth. I'm not a millionaire. I've got a lot of investment. If you'd say, what's my wealth? My wealth is into its millions, but not financially. I'm not a millionaire. I could be a multimillionaire if I wanted to be. But the point is, it's not about money, but then you have to bring in money into the equation. If you've got issues with money, you've got to remove the blockages, because there's something called flow. And the best way to get flow of money is to get into your own flow. Does that make sense? So if you're somebody who's a natural presenter, then present. If you're a natural networker, network. If you're naturally only good with one-to-one, then do more of that. So in terms of how do you choose to, what's the question? How did you begin to increase your coaching?
Before you go on with the question, I think that I was talking to one of the people that are going to be also interviewed in the next few weeks, and we're talking about wealth dynamics. Have it being clear about
who are you interviewing?
James Todd, and
right.
We're talking about wealth dynamics, and that's going to be another incredible interview. But I think that was for everyone in this room. Please go and do your wealth dynamics profile, because you will know where to focus your time. Really important.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think they need to watch that Blab interview, that podcast that you do. The thing about wealth dynamics is saying effectively that there are 8 paths to wealth creation, particularly if you're an entrepreneur, coach, speaker, and so on. One of them is your path of least resistance. 7 of them is your path of most resistance, and some of them are more like your path to disaster. And when I discovered that, I realized why I was so good at sales. So I'm what you call a star profile, which means I have a natural ability to connect with people, to be able to shine my light on other people. This is why I've done lots of interviews. So coming back to the question of how do I begin? Well, first of all, you've got to decide on the market you're working in. I tell all my clients, for example, that if you're charging anything, I don't care what you're doing, if you're charging anything less than £100, if someone came to me and says, Harun, I'm going to coach you and I charge you £100, I like laugh. They have to be charging 5, 6, 7 figures, not just per session, but as a package. So the first thing is decide on what level you want to play with. Now, if you've not got much coaching experience, then obviously you're not going to be charging $10,000, $7,000, $15,000 a session, or $1 million like Tony Robbins does. You have to decide on, don't go over the top, but just decide, okay, these are the level of people I'm working with. So think about this. Not about you, not about your charge, but who am I serving? So if you're working with directors of companies, for example, you got to ask yourself, what is the kind of budget they're willing to spend or invest in a coaching program? If you're working with young children or unemployed people, they're not going to have much of a budget. So your coaching fees are going to be far, far less. Now, so you've got to decide. So in my view, my humble view, if you are a new coach, so you've done some kind of coaching program, whatever that is, and I don't think one program is either better than the other. I do think it's to do with the individual, to be honest with you. So once you've decided that, then I say to if you're working with small businesses, start off with £100 a session. But very important, do not try to sell one session at a time. That's crazy, because I know, everybody who's a coach knows none of your clients get the job done after one session or 2 sessions or 3 sessions. It takes 6, 7, 8 months, 9 months, a year. So decide rather than a session. So if someone comes to me now, I get bored very quickly. So I don't say to them, come and work with me for a year. I say, come and work with me for 6 months. If they don't work, the minimum they can work with me if they negotiate hard is 3 months. But if they don't work minimum of 3 months and they're not willing to work 6 months, I'm not interested, because I can't give them the real kick up the backside and the support and the challenge that they need. So I would say minimum in UK, £100 a session, approximately. You decide. So if you came and did coaching with me, for example, you'd be coached once a week. If I have space for coaching, that is, once a week, every week for 6 months. And that will be £6,000. Now, the challenge isn't how much I decide. So I can say I charge £100 a session or £1,000 a session. The question is, can I convince my clients to do the same? So I'm going to share this story with you, which is I was doing a lot of private work, and I wanted to work with the NHS, which is the National Health Service in the UK. And I had an opportunity to go and do a workshop. So I got phoned by the NHS through a contact, and they said, Haroon, can you do something on work-life balance? And I said, being an entrepreneur, I said, yeah, I can. Now, of course I can now. So she said, okay, so we're doing a whole day conference for all our NHS financial managers. And what I want you to do a 1 hour session in the morning and 1 hour session in the afternoon. Sorry, 90-minute session in the morning and 90 in the afternoon. And she said, so what are your rates? And I said, well, what's your budget? Don't worry, I will look after you. And she genuinely said, Haroon, I don't want to be embarrassed or anything. So just tell me your rates and we'll do what we can. And I said, you know what? I forgot her name, but I said, I'm going to look after you. If you say anything ridiculous, I'll tell you, don't worry. And you're a friend of a friend, so I'll look after you. She said, well, our top rate for workshops is £750. And actually, we pay our top consultants £850 for the day. Although you're only doing 3 hours, you are doing it for you're going to have to be there all day. So can we pay you £850? And she was embarrassed to say that. Can I pay you £850? And I said, okay, well, plus tax, yeah, plus travel expense, yeah, plus lunch, yeah. So great, done. So it was £850 overall. But the minimum charge for a speaker she would have given was $750. So that was my first National Health Service gig. A few months later, I got approached by a big employment organization, and it was a private sector organization. They're very big. And I had someone else approach me and say, look, Haroon, we've got these long-term unemployed people who need motivation, and I'd love for you to do a workshop, half-day workshop. And I said, and they asked me what my rate was, and I said the same thing, I'll look after you. And he said, no, come on, tell me. And I said, no, if you say anything ridiculous, I'll tell you. He said to me, £200. I laughed. And I said, look, the lowest payers I've had are the NHS, because they're a public sector organization. And for 3 hours of work, they paid me £750, which is true, right? Through what, 850 include all the ancillaries, plus, but minimum they were willing to pay was 750. and you want me to do 3 hours work and you're in the private sector. He goes, oh, okay, then I'll pay you £750. So I didn't have a fixed rate. I went according to what their needs were and what their budget was. In an instant, he said, yeah, from £200, £250, he went straight to £750. The other instance, she knew, which is true. I give my heart and soul to the people I'm helping out. I don't publicize my fees simply because when you're selling on price, people want the lowest price available. When you're promoting on, and you're really adding value, you link the value that you're adding in comparison to the value they're getting. So say, for example, you came to me and you said to me, Haroon, can you support me for 3 months? I want to make £1 million extra. And you show me that, yes, the possibility is there. And I need someone to kick my butt for that next 90 days. And it's only as a result. And if I can say it's as a result of my work with you that you're going to make $1 million, I'll be happy to charge you 100,000. Not a problem. Because if I can show, and not that I'm going to try to show that, but if we can show together that when we work together,
that's the way
that you will make $1 million,
then that's what I'm going to charge. I think that this is also a good point for everyone who is saying, I don't know really where to start. I don't know how much to charge. I don't know. I remember the first time, even I never had a paying client. I said, how much are you willing to pay me? I'm willing. Yeah. Let's work together. We are a team. Let's work together. Yeah. And for me, exactly. It was my first paying client. I think it was about £300 for 6 sessions. And I did black flips in my kitchen. I was the happiest person in the world. I was like,
absolutely.
I've got my first paying client. It's £300. He paid in advance. I'm going to do £300 for 6 hours. And before, I was like, I was coming from I was working in the catering industry, but it was completely different. It was my first money earned with my business. So
it's amazing, isn't it? The feeling is amazing. What's amazing also, it's funny though, because at the time it's like, oh my God, I'm earning this much. And as you earn more and more, isn't it funny that you seem to have your eyes get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you spend faster and faster?
It's true. It's like I got one of our programs, which is £10,000, and some of my clients pay me £10,000. I'm like, thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
the first time I got paid £10,000, it didn't feel. I wasn't as happy as the first time I got paid 300. And that really got me to realize that at the end of the day, it's just the feeling that we give to things. Like money is the feeling, the relationship that we have with money. So for people that ask me, how much should I charge? I will always say, charge what feels right for you. If you feel that, because some people say in this industry, oh, you got to charge high prices, demand your value. The fact is that if no one knows you, then the price can be actually the buying point for you starting your business. So start low and then build up. But then also don't undercharge yourself. So it's about what is the number that you will have that you could say, hey, I'm actually happy. That's if you pay me this, I'm happy. And I know I can give you 200% without feeling I'm giving you and then being, oh, but actually I'm doing this.
I'll tell you one thing to do. I'll tell you one thing not to do. One thing not to do ever is to go into price competition. If somebody comes to you and says, oh, this other person is offering to charge less, the reason I want you to imagine, the reason they're saying this other person is charging less is simply because in their eyes, you're not creating enough value. So it's not about, oh, I need to discount my price. It's about creating value. Here's money is a big one. I do whole entire 2-hour webinars on money. So with money is that, imagine a set of scales. One side you've got price, the other side you've got value. So you want a good balance, but this is how it works in the world of business in terms of selling. If your price outweighs the value, would you agree that the customer will not buy from you? In other words, the value they're getting is not much, but the price is heavy. They're not going to buy from you, are they? When it's the same, they're going to shop around. But when the value outweighs the price, it's a no-brainer. Now, here's the thing. You as the seller set the value. Sorry, set the price. You as the seller set the price. No matter what you think you're doing, they as the customer always sets the value. So it's only value in according to them. And you could only find out, this is why sometimes online stuff is difficult to sell. You can only find out if it's of value to them by asking them questions, by having a conversation.
That's really great. And something that when just remind how important it is when you're selling, or that the value is in the mind of the client. That's where the value is in the mind of your client. So as you're saying, Haroon, giving them, asking them questions that will drive, actually will make them realize how valuable is that the work that they're going to do together then becomes just a matter of, can I afford you or not? That's it. There is not a question of, are you the right person? I'm not sure. No, I'm sure. I want to work with you. The only question is, how can I pay you? If you can pay, great. Go for it.
Okay.
Go for
it. Well, here's a little tip, and it's an absolute amazing tip. Everybody, I'm sorry to say, this might be a shock to some people. Everybody who values something enough, they will find their money. I've had people say to me, I've got no money. Like when I used to work in hospitals, oh, we've spent all the money. This is like new financial year. They've already allocated all the budget. But then at the end of the year, they come back to me and say, Haroon, we've got £12,000. I have to spend it now. Here's the tip. You create such an amazing relationship. So I'm all about relationships. You create so much amazing relationship that they start feeling like, oh my God, if I don't get this, I'm an idiot. And you don't want to make them think they're an idiot. They think, I have to do this. If I don't do this, then I am very silly. So for example, we have this conversation and I do a lot of interviews and I'm very, very busy. And but in my mind, I love the work that you're doing. You created huge amounts of value. I want to develop a relationship so we can work together. You do your stage stuff, your events, etc. Me with the media, etc. I want to work with you, of course. So to me, I would be an idiot for not working with you, or at least not starting a relationship. I'm very transparent. I tell people as it is. I want to work with you. I've said I went to a networking meeting, a really big small networking meeting. They're very big hitters. I just told them up front, some are doing global stuff. I want to work with you. I want to interview you. I want to find out about you. And I want to work with you.
Yeah.
Not necessarily as my clients, but collaborators.
When you have this mentality, then this mindset, then that's going to be not only applied to clients, but also to partners and other aspects on life that can be outside also the business world. And yes, I want to be stupid with your TV and the radio that you're doing, not working with you. So, and this is the great thing about establishing the relationship and building the connection. And I think that the key learning here is that, and also you're saying in the example that you gave about selling, is all about in the relationship. And I give you this example. I have my web developer that charges a lot of money for being a web developer. And I could go outsource it to the Philippines, and spend probably about 15 times less. But because the relationship I have with him, because the care that he gave to him, because he's always there, because he knows his stuff, I'm buying from him, and I know I could save money. But the value that he gives me outweighs the thousands of pounds I'm paying for developing website and for putting systems in place. So I personally, and I'm happy, and you're up to the point where you're happy to actually give that money to that person. Because you say, if I have to spend money, I will spend it with you rather than with someone else.
Exactly. Absolutely. One of the things the purpose of this call, I know you wanted to talk to me about how to do things in 90 days. And I have to say, there's a number of things. Let's go back to the whole thing. Sorry, I'm also... Okay, great. So I'm going to give you some quick fire tips which can transform your business. First of all, number one, set a 90-day vision.
90-day vision.
Very important. We covered this. I think it needs to need. And number two, have one aspect of your work that you master in 90 days. Master, not get good at, master. It takes, yes, they say 10,000 hours to master something, but practice one thing really, really well. And that might be coaching. That might be just 1%. In 90 days, you'll increase by 90%. Do it over a year, of course, 100%. So do that for 90 days. Okay. There's other thing. Make sure you have an accountability partner, whether that be a coach or a mentor. And ideally, you want someone with mentoring background as well. I would say that, of course, because that's what I do. So have somebody who can keep you on target. A very important one that everybody who's runs a small business makes a mistake of is they try to do it on their own. So get yourself, especially if you're somebody out and about in coaching, get yourself an administrator. Nowadays, you can get virtual assistants and you can pay them by the hour or pay them by quarter, 15 minutes at a time every week. They will do your calls. They will do your invoicing. Why the hell? It takes, for me, for example, if I'm doing administration work, instead of hiring somebody, I pay them £25. That's me saving £25. But you put me in front of a client, I can make £5,000-10,000 out of that. Why on earth would I be doing any admin? So this is why I'm growing my team, putting it out to everybody. And my intention before, because I know my flow. My flow is simple: connection and presentation. Those are the two big things. So for me, 2016 is about being in my flow and delegating everything out. So delegate as much as you can, even if you can't afford it yet. If you are a great coach and that's all you do, nothing else, and you ask your coaching clients for referrals, and that's all you do, then you will do more and more coaching. You'll be a happier person, not just because you're making more money, but you're doing what you're good at. If you're somebody who doesn't like administration and making telephone calls, get a telesalesperson, or doesn't like doing the invoicing, get an admin person. But find at least one person right now for the next 90 days, even just for 90 days, to help you in an area you are rubbish at. Only do the stuff you play at and hand over the stuff you have to work at to somebody else. If you do that for 90 days, there's much more, of course, but if you do that for 90 days, that will help transfer your business.
Thank you very much,
Definitely.
Harun. That I think has been a really great tips in terms of having like your 90 days vision, becoming a master of one thing in 90 days, and then delegate as much as you can on the things that you're not good at in order that you can spend more time. And I think this is something that you have heard over and over and over again. I think that sometimes it just takes years to sink in. There are people that are, okay, I got it. Some people, no matter how many time you say, I'm one of them. That's why I'm saying it. We started this year building our team, and now we have 7 people, and it's great. I can do what I love. I've got my mom here. I'm having an holiday with my mom, and things are keeping growing. And I got people signing up to my seminar. And before it was just 25. I'm still doing my 20 hours a day because I'm a workaholic. That's how I am. I love doing what I do. So you cannot get me to get away from GTeX. I love it. But I can say, you know what? Even if I'm not there, things are sorted. Not everything, but things are sorted. So I would say also, to add on what you're saying, document everything you're doing, every process, every system from the beginning, from the very first day. So write email or create screenshot videos of the way how you do things. Because guess what? When you have a virtual assistant, or when you have an assistant, you say, hey, you want to do that? Here's the video. Do it. Boom. The fact is that the more you wait, the more stacks of things becomes, and you forget. And you forget. So it takes maybe 2 minutes more to record and explain why you're doing it, explain the reason why. Some people can get into the same mindset of you. They can be your brand, if it makes sense. But that's just to build on in terms of delegating, because then sometimes I remember there can be people that can get a virtual assistant and then they pay it, and then they never delegated before. So they don't know what to give to them. But if you set up systems and screenshot videos, okay, I want you to do this. Boom, sorted. So Harun, it's been incredible interviewing you. I know that you have a lot of exciting projects like Untangled FM, Untangled Television. So can you please tell us a bit more about how people that have heard these interviews, whether they are on podcast, on YouTube, live here tonight on Blab, thank you very much, folks. How can we get in touch with you?
Okay, so I'm very easily trackable. First of all, you can find me on Facebook, Harun Rabbani, And I have a website, a number of websites. Which one to give you? I tell you what. So your coach is okay. There's a particular program that you might want. It's called Synchro Mastery. Synchromasterynow.com. Synchromasterynow.com. What that does is integrates consciousness, the invisible world with the visible. It integrates universal laws with business practice. That's for people who are seriously interested in finding out more and getting trained by me without having to pay crazy amount of fees. Trained by me, coached by me online, of course, there's an online training program to grow their business super rapidly. So they can do that. And also you can find me on Untangled FM. Type my name and you can track me down. I'm very Googleable. So track me down. And connect with me here. Connect with me wherever you want. Connect with me with Twitter. And if I can serve you, I'm really happy to serve. And I'm also looking to get more and more transformational experts to connect, because we're creating a global movement, one step at a time. So if you're watching, then track me down, like I said, and just ask me, how can we get connected? So I want to work with coaches. I want to work with entrepreneurs. We have TV stuff coming up. We're doing some stuff already. We want presenters. We want collaborators. Loads and loads of opportunities, because the world is our oyster, and it's working really nicely. I'd love you all to be part
of it. We love that. Yeah. So we're going definitely to put all your links in the show notes and on the website, because also a blog is going to be written about this interview, which I'm really excited about. And Haroon, thank you very much. It's been an incredible pleasure. And thank you guys, for those of you that have been here. Thank you for staying with us wherever you're listening. Thank you. And always remember to live with purpose. Ciao.
Bye. Thank you very much.